Hi, everyone. I am so happy to share my dear friend, Greg Peterson, today. He is just an amazing person. I love someone who just jumps into life with all his heart, his passion, and that's what Greg has done. Let me read you a little bit about Greg. His ability with farming in an urban setting is really his claim to fame, although he's just a really great guy on top of that.
I'm blushing.
So, Greg Peterson is an urban farming and sustainability innovator who's well known regionally, and that would be in the desert Southwest and beyond of America. He's appeared extensively on local TV and radio and is a frequent guest columnist for publications. His mission is to inspire people to embrace their own greenness, which he does daily by living what he speaks. Greg resides at the Urban Farm, an environmental showcase home in the heart of Phoenix, which he opens periodically for tours and classes. He also runs urbanfarm.org and Urban Farm U, as in letter U, both designed to educate and inspire. As a resident of Phoenix, Arizona for the last 48 years, Greg is well versed in urban sustainability and food production in dry lands. And so with great fanfare and joy, I am so happy to bring Greg Peterson. Greg, I am thrilled to have you here, and it looks like you are in your backyard.
Thank you. Yeah.
Beautiful setting behind you.
Woo-hoo.
And I want everybody to know your yard is amazing. I used to live in the desert in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area. My yard was not as verdant as yours. I mean, this is incredible. And
Well, you have the gravel problem in your yard.
oh dear.
Here in the desert Southwest, they love putting gravel mulch down,
Yes.
which is like 4 to 6 inches worth of gravel in your yard. And then try growing anything in that. It just doesn't work.
Oh no.
So
It doesn't. And it makes these really hot spots. So I know your
Right.
yard is so much more comfortable to just be in than the yard that we had when we lived in the desert. And so, urban farming, believe me, having lived in the desert for the years that I did, your capacity of being able to work with this type of information and make it happen in what I would consider to be about as harsh of an environment as a person can find.
yeah.
I want you to share a little bit about what urban farming is and
Okay.
why it's so important for people to be doing this.
So really, urban farming is growing food in the cities. Really, you don't have to be in a city, a suburb, rural, but really I'm targeting the urban areas. And the main reason I'm targeting the urban areas is that that's where all the people live. So if we can grow the food where we need the food, it cuts down a lot environmentally, on the environmental impact. And the cool piece is, so growing food in the city, is urban farming. If you want to be an urban farmer, it's really simple. Grow food and share it. Then you could, because that's what farmers do, right?
Yeah, that's
Farmers
right.
grow food and they share it. A lot of them sell it, and you can be an urban farmer that sells food. In fact, while I was getting my degree at Arizona State University, I actually went back to school late in 1999. I think I was 39 when I went back to school. I was truck farming my front yard. And basically what that means is that I was growing food in the front and backyard. And on Wednesday morning, very early, I would go out into the front and backyard and I would harvest everything that was harvestable. And I would show up at the local farmer's market at 8:30 a.m. and put my stuff out. And I was making, $200, $300, $400 a week on season for basically a days and a half's worth of work.
That is very cool.
Yeah. So, urban farming is really simple. Grow food and share it. You can sell it if you want. The next piece of that for me was that anything that I had left over, it went to my friend Susan, who ran a restaurant here in town. So when I left the market at noon or 1, whenever it was over, I just went over to her place. I delivered her what was left and she fed me lunch. So I got to eat. For free, right?
My gosh, that is a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. Then the next step, there is one more step to being an urban farmer. So grow food, share it. And the next step is step 3, name your farm. Because when we name our farm, it really builds the conversation in the world about urban farming and about where our food comes from. And it really focuses everybody's energy on, oh my gosh, this food comes local.
Yes.
And local food, generally, it depends who's raising it, but if you're growing it organically like I do, local food is grown organically in my yard. It's higher nutrient density. There's much less toxins in it. So generally, it's better food for me. Plus, I'm picking it at its peak of freshness.
Yes.
So when I go pick the tomato off the tomatoes, I think there's some tomatoes right back there.
Looks like it.
When we go pick those tomatoes, literally they're falling off in our hands.
Oh,
right. And there's peaches right over here. In fact, if maybe at the end we'll wander over there and I'll get a peach and we'll have it splash down the front of me. Because I'll tell you what, I cannot eat a peach from the store.
Oh, of course not.
I can't do it.
No.
I have peach trees in my yard, and I've grown and eaten peaches for decades here in my yard at the urban farm. There's nothing better than a homegrown peach that literally, when you grab it, it falls off in your hand. And when you take a bite of it, it splashes down the front of you.
Oh.
So if for no other reason, it tastes better.
Of course.
If you're growing it yourself, and it's more nutrient dense if you're growing it yourself, because you're using all the organic techniques that are really simple. If you know the rules about how to grow food, it's really simple to grow food.
Well, and that's the kicker there, because as I'd mentioned, I used to live in the desert, which right not far from you as the crow flies.
Right.
And I didn't know the rules, at least not the right rules.
Right.
And so I didn't have success. Now, I do think that a little bit of it is I simply didn't set things up the right way.
See, that's the thing. People need to know from the get-go how to set things up correctly. And a lot of the courses that we offer at Urban Farm U are designed to give you that information so that you get set up from the get-go, and they're designed to save you money. You may have heard of the $400 tomato.
Right.
In gardening, right?
Yes.
You go out and you spend all this money on this awesome garden, and you get one tomato.
Right.
It's because you didn't know the rules.
That's right.
And the rules are simple. You just have to know what they are.
Well, and obviously there are some distinct rules to the Phoenix area, but I mean, so my concern is, how do we convey that to different regions? Where I live now, it's an alpine environment, 7,000 feet. We have 4 distinct seasons, very different than in the valley where you kind of have hot and colder.
Hey, we have 4 distinct seasons.
I had to look where the sun was in the sky for that.
Yeah, there you go. Hot, and not so hot.
That's right.
All right. Well, maybe 2 distinct seasons.
Yes.
So here's the thing about growing food.
Yeah.
There is this set of rules around growing food that no matter where you're at, they apply. So you just said you had to look where the sun was at. You need to know where the sun's at what time of year, and how long the days are. You need to know how to make healthy soil. Your single biggest, most important asset in your garden is healthy soil. Period. End of story. Whether you live in Alaska, whether you live in Atlanta, Georgia, whether you live in Jordan, whether you live in Australia, whether you live in Flagstaff or Phoenix, your single biggest, most important asset is your soil.
Yeah.
And so knowing how to create healthy, happy soil is a keystone to success.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
That's a huge one. I mean, that is so huge. And again, with your teaching, creating the space and proper environment for doing that, you get into that, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
How to do this, for different areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a big piece of what we talk about is based in permaculture principles. For those of you that don't know permaculture, I like to call permaculture the art and science of working with nature. So how do we get in the flow and work in the flow of nature?
Right. Rather
than like us human beings, we want to do it our way.
Right.
You want to go with the flow downstream, or do you want to try and go upstream?
Right. Right.
So when the bugs show up, here's a perfect example. When the bugs show up in your garden, there's a reason the bugs show up in your garden. And spraying pesticides on them doesn't fix the reason. It fixes the bugs temporarily.
Right.
So your job is to figure out, why do the bugs show up?
Right.
And this time of year, it's May
Right.
in Phoenix, Arizona. And this time of year, I get a lot of emails from people that they say, you know what? The aphids showed up in my garden.
Mm-hmm.
And why are they here?
Right.
I say, well, what are they on? They're on their brassicas. They're on their winter crops. They're on their spinach. They're on those kinds of things. That stuff, it's at the end of its life.
It's at the end of its season.
And nature's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The bugs show up and start breaking everything down.
Love it.
Right?
Love it.
So that's what I'm talking about. The kinds of rules that, that we get.
Yes.
That we talk about in our courses, in the webinar that's coming up. These are the kinds of things that we talk about to give you the clues that you need to go out and figure it out. And really, the first rule of permaculture is observation.
Yeah.
I tell people, go out in your space and observe for at least a year before you make any major changes. Now, putting in a small garden is not a major change.
Okay.
Removing large trees is a major change.
Yes.
So, and in fact, in permaculture, when you make a major change and it's a mistake, we call that a class 1 error. So we want to try and avoid those. And what we do in all of our courses is we talk about the different things that people can do to figure that out, so they're not making, errors that are, of a class 1 or a class 2 or major errors.
Oh, of course. Well, it's interesting to me, Greg, because as we're talking about this, I always consider that our body is a reflection of, so we're the microcosm of the macrocosm of our environment.
Absolutely.
And, to me, this is another manifestation of looking at the symptoms. So we would consider the aphids in the brassicas in a very sunny, warm time of year to be the symptom that it's actually time for us to begin growing different plants.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And what's really curious for me is I actually almost made that reference a little while ago.
Oh.
but I thought, no, I won't go there.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you for going there. That's
You're
right. We're not about the symptoms. We're about what's causing the issue. And that comes in whether you're doing your work or I'm doing my work, that comes from observation.
Yes.
So the single biggest thing you can do in your yard, in your space where you want to put your garden, is go out and observe. See what's going on in the space.
Yes.
So important.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Exactly.
And so do you help people to learn to be better lookers?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's really good, because that's so key. My gosh.
Oh, big
we
time.
have so much information around us all the time.
Yep.
I mean, it's data overload.
Yeah.
And if we have that structure around how to sift through that in a usable fashion, that's priceless. It's so important.
Yes, absolutely.
That is so good.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, not surprisingly, this is so the tip of the iceberg here, Greg, what we're talking about. I mean,
how many hours you got?
I know.
There's so much, I do tours here at the Urban Farm. So let me tell you about the Urban Farm real quickly. The Urban Farm is my home. I've been here for 27 years. So that's just a little under half of my life. That was when I realized that recently. It was like, wow. I've lived half my life in one place.
Wow.
That's amazing. It's 1/3 of an acre. If you go up and stand on my roof and look all around the city, you're going to see houses for 50 miles in each direction. So I'm smack in the middle of Phoenix, Arizona.
Wow.
And the Urban Farm is 1/3 of an acre. So that's about 80 feet wide and about 160 feet deep. And I have spent the last 27 years doing permaculture on the property and making the landscape edible.
Right.
So I have somewhere around 80 fruit trees on the property. There's gardens in the front yard. There's gardens in the backyard. And I've got 3 different kinds of solar panels on the roof. I do rainwater and gray water harvesting.
Wow.
Really, it's my place to experiment with growing food.
Mm.
And this goes back for me to when I was 15, when I had to write a paper. I was like in the 8th grade or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I wrote a paper on how we were overfishing the oceans.
Mm-hmm. I know. Right. Who does that? And that was not happening on the radar screen at that
time. In 1975.
That's
That
right.
was in 1975. So
Yes.
really, this is my lifelong vision, my lifelong, what I do in the world every day is sharing with people how to grow their own healthy, happy, nutrient dense food.
Yeah. Yes. That is so, so perfect. And again, folks that have spent a summer in Phoenix,
Hmm.
they'll know they'll know the potency of what you're saying. I
Yeah.
mean, I grew up on the coastline in Southern California, and so
Hmm.
that's a very gentle place to try and
Hmm.
grow food
Yeah.
and harvest water and do these sorts of things. And I mean, it's a desert by trade, but the conditions are gentler.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with 110 to 120 degrees, as we do some days in Phoenix, and day after day after day,
Yeah.
then you're able to still maintain a yard that looks like that, or some degree of that behind you. I think you know what you're talking about.
Thank you. Thanks. I'll take it. I'll take it.
That's great.
Well, and here's a curious thing. It's the hardest time of year to grow is August and September. Well, July, August, and September is the
Right.
hottest part of the year. We can grow stuff here then, but really October through May, June,
Yeah.
and into July, it's the best time to grow.
It's incredible. And that's
Yeah.
why all the farmers markets go at that time of year. And that,
Yeah.
it's just, and it's so beautiful. It is. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love that you're doing it, with the rainwater harvesting
Oh,
and
yeah.
the gray water, all of that. So good, Greg.
No, thanks.
So it's true. We could talk a month of Sundays.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what I want you to do is, I know you have got some teaching that you're going to be doing here soon. Please tell us about that, because it's free. We like
Perfect.
that.
Yeah, exactly. And we do at Urban Farm U, we do a lot of free webinars.
Mm-hmm.
So on all kinds of different topics, on seed saving, on aquaponics, on starting your garden, on permaculture. We do these free webinars monthly. We're doing free webinars. We do have one coming up on Wednesday, June 1st.
Okay.
We're going to run it twice that day at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific. It's called 3 Simple Steps to Grow Fruits and Vegetables for a Healthier Life.
Oh, good.
So
Easy.
It really is. And that's one of the things that we do. We make the entry into this stuff really simple.
Good.
Because it has to be. People get freaked out. They say, well, I've got a black thumb. Well, you only have a black thumb because you don't know the rules.
That's right.
And I am going to share, the rules on how to do this because it's so incredibly simple. And what we're going to talk about in this free webinar is how to find the right place for your garden.
Okay.
Because if you put it if you're in the northern hemisphere,
yes,
above the equator, and you put a garden on the north side of your property, forget it. It's never going to get any sun.
Right. Exactly.
Have you thought about that?
That's right.
Right. If you put it in the desert on the west side of a structure, it's going to cook.
It's going to burn.
Exactly. It's going to burn up. So, one of the things is garden placement. So we're going to talk about garden placement. And then we're going to talk about selecting the right plant for the right place.
Mm.
It's like when and how do you grow what you grow?
I love it.
Two really important things. Then the third thing is that we're talking about in this free webinar is why soil is your most important garden asset.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about what healthy soil is. And then we have a bunch of gardening hacks that we're going to share that are really simple. In fact, here's a gardening hack this is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Save your old bed sheets.
Really?
Yeah. And then when you plant your garden with seeds, so you put all your seeds out, take that old bed sheet and lay it over the top of your garden.
Okay.
And water the bed sheet for 2 to 4 weeks.
Oh, you create a moisture environment.
Exactly. Yay! It creates like a top mulch.
I love it.
Okay. Creates a top mulch. It creates a barrier for birds. Because I'll tell you, birds love seeds.
Oh, yes.
They can annihilate your garden. They can annihilate your garden just like that.
Okay.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. So just save your old sheets, put that old bed sheet down. And people ask me this all the time. Well, do I have to take it up? No, just water the top of the bed sheet.
Wow.
It creates a top mulch and the plants, they'll start popping up. They don't go through it.
You'll see them popping though.
But you'll see them popping. Exactly.
And then you pull it.
And then you pull it. Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Put 4 bricks on the corners and you're good to go.
Oh my gosh.
That is one of the most amazing garden hacks, and you just do it, and it's really simple. Those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about.
I love it.
That you just need to know, and it's going to make your job so much easier to grow that healthy, incredible food for your family.
Oh my gosh. Oh no, you just like, because I had the ugliest cheetah sheets that came with something. Yeah, they're horrible.
Is there chicken back there?
Oh no, I see the chicken.
Yeah, there's a chicken back there. I saw the reflection. I've got a windows here. I'm sitting on my back patio, and I saw the windows, and I saw the chicken walking across.
No, there's a happy little chicken back there.
You were saying
vegetables. Actually, that's a good point. I know even at Urban Farm U, you also have classes on vermiculture where you're working with worms. You have classes on chickens,
backyard livestock. Yeah,
I know.
My goal. So here's the deal. You know how long I've been doing this. This is 1975. That's 41 years.
Right.
I'm 55 years old. I think I had this before then. But I did a course in 1991, and I created myself to be the person on the planet that transforms our food system.
Good.
That's my job.
I love it.
That's what I get to do every day. So sharing this kind of stuff with your listeners, with the world, is really what I'm up to.
I love it.
That's my goal. My goal is to absolutely transform our food system on the planet.
Oh my gosh. Well, if we can emancipate people from the concept that they have to go somewhere to get their produce, as opposed to just doing it themselves, huge, huge. And again, I have to reiterate the fact that you're teaching people how to do this in one of the harshest environments out there. And so,
you can do it here. You can do it here. You can do it anywhere.
That's right. That's right. Oh, it's so true. So true. So awesome, Greg. Well, do you want to show us a quick little picture of what's going on in your yard there before we sign off?
Oh, sure.
Take us on a quick walking tour.
Let me see it. Let me see if we can do this. All right.
Okay.
Cool. Yes. Outdoor shower.
Yay!
Yeah. I don't know what you're seeing now, but do you see tomatoes?
Oh, the tomatoes. Holy cow, friend.
Yeah, look at this. It's like May 10th, right? And our tomatoes are coming in. Man. Oh, and this right here. This stuff right here, this is mint.
Yes, it is.
The mint grows wild in the backyard. Then one of the curious things that I do, see that all the plants growing out there? I'm starting to dig up the lawn. So you can see a bucket over here with grass piled up. I'm digging up the lawn, and I'm going to put in a pasture, and that pasture is going to be for chicken fodder, for actually feeding the chickens.
I love it.
Yeah. We spend like $80 a month right now on chicken feed, on organic chicken feed. And, if I can grow it here, we're going to be much more sustainable that way.
That's right.
Because the chicken feed that we purchase comes from Montana. So,
I know.
Yeah. All right. Can you see them?
Oh, they're the beauties. Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm looking for one here. Maybe.
You've eaten them all.
No. I'm looking for a ripe one.
I know you are.
I promised that I would eat one on camera.
On camera, let's get the drip.
All right. So there is nothing better than a fresh peach in the yard at the Urban Farm. And I'll bet you, in fact, I know it's going to drip. It's got to. Actually, this one's not so drippy, but it's really good.
Oh, man.
I tell you, oh, my God, this is one of the best peaches this year. It's got nice and flavor. Oh, man. Grow your own food. Grow your own food. That's all I got to say.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much, my friend. All right,
Absolutely.
We're going to get everybody over to your class because it's going to be
perfect. It is Wednesday, June 1st. We have 2 time slots, 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. Come over for a free webinar. I mean, you'll definitely take some stuff away that will transform how you grow your food.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Talk to you soon, friend. Take care. Okay? Yes, enjoy that peach.